Hey guys, it's Exorsizzle. Sorry that it's been so long. It's finally time to talk about the main plot of Fatal Frame 4, 3 parts later. Let's go. Sometime after Sakuya woke up, bloomed and killed everyone in 1972, a boat that made seemingly regular trips to Rogetsu discovered all the islanders' corpses. A 2-week investigation ensued, but no cause of death was discovered. The only clue they found was that all the corpses were clutching their faces in agony and the faces themselves were twisted in really weird ways. The only people that were known to have left the island before the disaster occurred was Sakuya's 5 accompanists and their families. 8 years later in 1980, Marie and Tomoe, 2 of Sakuya's accompanists, were found dead in the same manner as the corpses on Rogetsu. This leads me to believe that the girls never really got over their Getsuyu syndrome, they just maybe delayed it? I also wonder if this means that Marie and Tomoe bloomed, but if they did, wouldn't they have infected people on the mainland? We don't really find out a lot about Marie and Tomoe, which is a big shame, but maybe they lived in isolation. It would make sense for them to be more comfortable alone with all the stuff they've been through, but then again, this is Japan, and from what I can tell, there's not a lot of land for isolating yourself, and houses are very expensive. Let me know what you think. There was no official cause of death for Marie or Tomoe, but oddly enough, they died at the exact same time. What the heck? The 5 girls all kept in contact after leaving Rogetsu, so the remaining 3, Ruka, Misaki, and Madoka, were understandably very concerned about Marie and Tomoe's deaths. And all 3 of them had been losing their memories for a while, which further supports my claim that they never got over their Getsuyu syndrome. Misaki was the first to decide she wanted to go back, spurred on mostly by a vision of a girl with a black bob and a black dress. She couldn't remember who this woman was, but she knew she was once an important person in Misaki's life. The memories filled her with sadness and confusion, and I'm pretty sure she felt like she was going to be the next person to die anyway if she didn't go and investigate the island. She had nothing to lose. Madoka, Misaki's closest friend, was still very timid in 1980. She is a descendant of the Tsukimori Shrine Maidens, who were known for being very reserved, and she was also bullied a lot as a child, and not even the normal kind of bullying where you'll probably get over it eventually. Ayako cut the head off of her canary and pushed her down the stairs. I don't think it's that weird that she's not over it 10 years later, especially if she never got therapy for it. Nevertheless, Madoka went with Misaki to Rogetsu because she felt like she would never see Misaki again if she didn't. Madoka had been losing her memories of the island for a while as well, which was probably a good thing in her case. This is just speculation, but maybe she was also trying to prove she isn't the weenie that she seems like she is. We don't really see a lot of Misaki before she got stressed out about her lost memories and Tomoe and Marie's deaths, but it doesn't seem like she was a very good friend to Madoka. Madoka writes in her first memo that the closer they get to the island, the further and further away Misaki seems. She has a cold, distant look on her face, and it scares Madoka. When they finally get to Rogetsu Hall, Madoka asks her if they can just forget it and go back to the mainland, but Misaki crudely reminds her that if they don't figure out what's going on here, they will die just like Marie and Tomoe did. Madoka gets freaked the fuck out and tells her to stop, and thankfully Misaki does and walks off, but then Madoka gets a little flashback of her being abducted by Yo to participate in the homecoming. She still doesn't know what's going on there, but she knows it was a horrible time. When she comes back to the present, Misaki is nowhere to be seen. Madoka starts looking all over Rogetsu Hall for Misaki and sees her enter the Azo Museum, but when Madoka gets to the door, it's locked. Madoka finds the key upstairs in the second-floor nurse's office and heads back downstairs, but is pursued into the museum by Yoriko Sonohara, another Getsuyu syndrome patient. She tries to fight off her ghost and does for just a few seconds, but when she tries to leave, she's attacked again, but this time Yoriko brought friends with her. Madoka slowly slinks to the floor and presumably dies. Since this game likes to flip between different characters, I'm going to cover one character's storyline at a time, starting now with Misaki. Apparently, while Madoka was having her flashback to being kidnapped, Misaki was having a flashback of her own. Back on the mainland, Misaki was staring at herself in the mirror intently, and after a few seconds, her face started blooming. So, she's been budding for a while now. The girl in the black dress she keeps seeing appeared behind her and said, "Come back to Rogetsu." She snaps back to reality and is a little freaked out, and the same girl appears up the stairs beckoning Misaki to follow her. Misaki is in a trance-like state at this point, so I'm pretty sure she didn't really mean to leave Madoka alone, which is really, really sad, honestly. Misaki reaches out and touches the girl and gets a small vision of Sakuya flipping shit, but that's it. There's no other explanation at this point. Misaki has no clue who this angry woman is or who this woman in black is. She finds her camera obscura she brought with her on the ground and starts to look for Madoka. As she wanders through Rogetsu Hall, Misaki begins recovering more and more of her lost memories. Eventually, Misaki finds Madoka in the dining room, but she's already long dead. She fights off her ghost and continues investigating on her own. She follows the woman in black all throughout Rogetsu Hall, remembering bits and pieces of her friendship with Sakuya as she goes. She finds out that Sakuya was a psychic who lived a floor up from her in the isolation ward because her Getsuyu syndrome was so bad. She remembers her friendship with Sakuya and how Sakuya loved to collect dolls. One day, Sakuya gave Misaki a doll that she could keep her memories in and told her the doll's name is Mia, a combination of both their names. Sakuya's condition continued getting worse, and after Misaki witnessed one of her violent outbursts, she was forbidden from seeing her again, even by Sakuya herself. Without Sakuya around, Misaki turned to Mia for comfort and for help remembering who she is. On the day of the homecoming, the 5 girls were kidnapped from the Kagura and brought down to the Lunar Eclipse Hall. After the ritual failed, Yo dragged Misaki out of the theater. Misaki accidentally left Mia behind and wasn't allowed to go back for her. 10 years later, Misaki finally makes her way back to the hall and meets up with her old friend Sakuya, who briefly takes on the form of the woman in black before attacking her. Misaki now realizes the woman in black is actually Mia, the doll she and Sakuya shared. After the battle, Misaki finds the doll on the floor of the theater and starts crying as Sakuya reverts back to normal. Sakuya gives Misaki a nice big ghost hug as if to comfort her, and then vanishes as Misaki falls to the floor. I'm not sure if Sakuya meant to kill Misaki or not, but considering the fact that Mia, who is half Sakuya, kept beckoning Misaki to come back to Rogetsu, I think it would make sense if Sakuya wanted to keep Misaki on the island forever. She was probably lonely. In the first ending of the game, Misaki is presumed dead, but in the second, Misaki wakes up to see Madoka's spirit. Misaki runs to her, leaving Mia on the ground, but Madoka smiles and disappears before she can reach her. Misaki stands on the beach and watches the spirits cross through the gate back to Area 0. Moving on to Ruka Minazuki. To refresh your memory, Ruka is a descendant of both the Tsukimori maidens and the mask-making Yomotsuki family. Yohaibara, one of the main orchestrators of the failed homecoming, asked her dad Soya to make a mask of the lunar eclipse, and he agreed but got completely obsessed with getting it done to the point where it scared both Ruka and her mother Sayaka. Ruka being kidnapped was the final straw for Sayaka, and she took Ruka with her off the island, leaving Soya behind to die with the rest of the islanders on the second day without suffering in 1972. Over time, Ruka lost even more of her memories, to the point where she could no longer remember anything from her childhood, which was probably a good thing. She knows from her mother telling her that she grew up on an island in a nice house, but she can't remember her dad at all. She also knows that she and the other 4 girls were kidnapped, but she, along with the other girls, can't remember any of the details surrounding it. The only thing she can remember is a melody, which she plays horribly at the beginning of the game. The melody is later on revealed to be the main lunar melody, the Tsukimori song. Sayaka taught Ruka how to play it when they were on the island together, but she forgot it as she got older. As Ruka plays the messed up Tsukimori song, she gets glimpses into her past, specifically the homecoming she was forced to participate in, but they're very small and she can't remember anything past when Sakuya's mask broke. Before Misaki and Madoka left to go to Rogetsu, they let Ruka know they were going. Ruka thought about joining them, but sometime before her mother's death, she told Ruka not to go, saying there are some things she's better off not knowing. Ruka didn't take that to heart, though. She had to regain her lost memories, and the island was not going to scare her off. Also, 2 girls had already died, and she didn't know for sure if Misaki and Madoka were okay, so she had to go investigate for herself. It's unknown how long she waited after Misaki and Madoka left, but considering how Misaki and Ruka never crossed paths, I'm assuming it was at least a day or 2. But then how does the lunar eclipse work? I'm pretty sure they both see the moon going through a lunar eclipse, and that only happens once every few months, so what the heck? It's possible there's a time warp where anyone on the island always sees the lunar eclipse no matter what day they're there, and that seems to be the most plausible explanation to me, but let me know what you think. Ruka's first stop on the island, just like Madoka and Misaki, is Rogetsu Hall. We don't really get to go outside a whole lot in this game, but we can assume that Rogetsu Hall was very close to the pier because of this, and because part of it was actually a hotel of sorts. Kinda weird considering it was also a fancy psychiatric hospital, but whatever, it's cool. As Ruka begins exploring the hall, she catches glimpses of Madoka here and there and finds a camera obscura of her own in the Azo Museum. She finally catches up with Madoka in the library and learns that Madoka has died. After the battle, Ruka sees her own face start to bloom. Her time is running out, so she has to hurry up and figure out how to cure her Getsuyu syndrome herself. As she wanders around the building, Ruka collects fragments of the mask of the lunar eclipse, knowing that they'll be useful in some way or another. She makes her way up to her own childhood room in the 3rd floor ward and remembers a song that was played by a music box when she was a child. She plays the song on the piano and has a vision of a different, somewhat familiar place where a man is hammering masks. The man, of course, is her father. Ruka eventually finds her way to Haibara Hospital, and going through the tunnels underneath, she finds the house she grew up in, where she learns more about the history of her family on both her mother and father's side. This is presumably where things really start to click for Ruka in terms of what she needs to do to fix the island. She learns that the Tsukimori song is known to calm the moon and end blooming, and makes her way to the lighthouse. At the top of the lighthouse is the Geisho Shrine, a shrine the Tsukimori maidens used to quell the moon. Once Ruka gets there, Sayaka attacks her, and after the easiest final boss fight in all of Fatal Frame, Ruka plays the Tsukimori song. This calms Sakuya long enough for Choushiro to put the pieced back together mask of the lunar eclipse on her face, and the spirits can finally pass on. After Sakuya herself passes, the mask falls to the floor and Ruka's dad appears and takes it. He turns around, finally revealing his face to Ruka. She can remember what he looks like now, and he's not actually that terrifying to look at. Nice! After the game's credits, Ruka is playing the official Tsukimori song and not the scary version Yo composed. She finishes and we see a quiet forest with a pond reflecting the moon. This is a callback to the note Sakuya dropped after waking up from her 2-year coma. The note reads, "The moon is shining. The moon is like a silent dark forest. There's nothing. Let us meet again. Let us meet again." This beautiful picture is actually what Area Zero looks like. Now we know why everyone wants to go there so bad. It looks so relaxing. Sign me up. Not a lot happens with Choushiro, honestly. I went over his backstory in my video on the ghost if you haven't seen it, but basically he spends the entire game chasing Ruka and Yo only to discover he's been dead the whole time. He does give Ruka a mask fragment and put the mask on Sakuya, so he's still important, but he just doesn't have a whole lot of plot on his own. What's interesting to think about, though, is if he's been chasing Yo around for the past 10 years or not. What if after the first time he died, he got up again and started chasing Yo, died again, and it's just been a cycle until Sayaka asked him to save Ruka? Definitely fun to think about. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave things. I think I'm finally done with Fatal Frame 4. God bless. If you have any questions at all, leave them down below and I will try to answer them. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember,